Have you recently applied for a job and finally they've called you up for interview and now you're actually stressing yourself out thinking, what am I going to do in order not to fail this interview? How am I going to secure this job? Well, the good news is that you are actually qualified for this job and that's exactly why they called you up for interview. They actually did select you. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, my name is Vera and I'm a Nigerian living and working here in Australia. Please do well to subscribe if you haven't, and if you're returning, it's always a pleasure to have you, my loves, my friends here. So yeah, let's head right into today's video. Okay, so on today's video guys, I'm going to be sharing with you 10 tips to help you pass your interview. So it doesn't necessarily need to be here in Australia. I believe anywhere you are in the world, these tips are going to help you secure your job or pass your interview. And yeah, let's dive right into it. Okay, I've got my tab here, by the way, so if you see me looking down, I've made a little note here so I don't forget anything. So number one on my list is research your role and your position. Okay, so I would say research your role, your position, your duties, your responsibilities. So most of the interviews I've attended here in Australia, they've always asked me questions relating to my duties and my responsibilities, so you cannot do without that. If you don't know exactly what your role is, what your duties are, go ahead and research it. So the second one on my list is that you have to research the company that called you up for that interview. I know that most of the time when we are looking for a job, we are always looking at the salary, or what we are looking out for is that, oh, which one pays better, what's the salary like. Let me not lie, I also fall into this category. Like when I'm looking for a job, I'm always like, how much are you paying? But if you are going to be attending an interview, this is your time to go ahead and research a little bit about this company, not going to find out when they were established or things like that, just basic things about them. It could be their slogan, it could be just what they stand for. Trust me, they're going to ask you, how did you hear about us, what made you apply to us? And you don't want to answer, oh, I applied to you because the salary is good. Most of the time I just say what their slogan is. Like for instance, I want to work with you because I love what you stand for. I love that we are all about empowering people, you know. So the third one is practice your answers to common interview questions. Okay, we all know common interview questions. It could be tell me about yourself, it could be tell me how long you've been working in this industry, tell me what made you apply to us, how do you handle stress, how do you work under pressure, can you work as a team, can you work independently. You know, you guys already know common interview questions. If you don't know that, please go ahead and research, you know, just research more, but I'm just giving you guys a few of them. Okay, so yeah, you need to rehearse it. That's why I said rehearse your answers. So you actually need to practice, like practice, real practice, not just in your mind. You need to practice with someone. I always practice with my husband. Whenever I have interview coming up, I will always ask him to ask me questions and then I'll answer in return. So that always works for me. So don't just practice it in your mind, you have to say it out. So the next one is don't stop talking. That's how I actually put it, for lack of a better word. What I mean by this is don't hesitate too much. When they ask you questions, don't hesitate too much. Or if they ask you question, you only answer within a minute, you just finish your answer within a minute. No, don't do that. That's not going to help you at all. If you're up for that interview, trust me, why they called you for that interview is just to hear you out. They can't ask you something and just under a minute you've already finished answering it. When they are doing this selection, they are looking at for who actually talked more, who actually elaborated more. This is what they are looking at for. So with experience, I've been able to practice and just improve massively. I actually got a very good, should I say, feedback from my manager. So after my interview, my last interview, the job I currently have, my manager called me, I believe few days after the interview, and she was like, my colleagues told me that you did exceptionally well during your interview. I'm like, my head was like this, like I was so happy. You know, it made me more confident in my own ability, because trust me, like I said, if they called you up for that interview, that means you already qualified for the role. Okay, that's just the truth. They just want to hear you out, hear you talk. And I remember even in that last interview, I think it has so much to do with you just believing in yourself, to be honest. On that particular day for that interview, I remember I woke up with this sort of confidence, because I've been doing this, to be honest, it just comes with experience, right? I've been doing this job for 5 years now, so I have the experience. So I just woke up with that kind of mindset or that kind of belief in myself that if they do not take me, it's their loss. And honestly, guys, if I attend any interview and they do not take me, 100% is their loss. Honestly, that's how I see it. Because why won't you hire me? Like, why wouldn't you hire me? I have the experience, I have the qualification, I have everything. So if you don't hire me for some reason, then it's absolutely your loss. And that's the kind of mindset that I went into that interview with. And guess what? I was one of the lucky ones they selected, and I actually got a feedback from my manager saying, oh, you did exceptionally well during your interview, and I could not wait to meet you. Trust me, you have to talk. I actually answered one question before they asked it, so I was just explaining something, and then in the process I answered something that they wanted to ask me, the next question. And after answering, they were like, oh, you've already answered the next question we wanted to ask you. I was like, oh, I'm sorry about that. But they were like, no, you don't have to be sorry about it. We actually love that. We love it. And that's how from that time our what's it called, the interview became a bit more chatty. It was just like me chatting with my friends and all that. So yeah, so you have to keep talking, guys. I know it's not easy, and that's why I say practice, okay? And make sure you are actually making sense, not just talking anything. So the next one would be use the terms or language of the industry. So the particular industry you are on or you're applying to, make sure that you use the terms they use. Australians are huge on slangs, okay? They are big on slangs. The Aussies are really chilled. So if you know those words that they use or those terms or those language they use in that field, make sure that you say it. That's how they know you're actually experienced. That's how they know that you've actually done this before, okay? There are certain terms that are peculiar to that industry. So make sure that you use that, even if it's slangs or just, don't be too professional, because Aussies are not really that. They're pretty chill, pretty laid back. So yeah, don't start trying to use ambiguous words or things like that. No, don't do that. So the next one will be listen carefully to the questions. You have to pay attention to the questions, okay? You need to pay attention to the questions. You don't want them to keep repeating themselves. Trust me, during my early days, there was one interview I actually attended, and I was forming deaf because I was trying to use that time to think about the question. They asked me a question, I'm like, come again, please. I can't hear you. Come again, please. Trust me, they know those tricks, okay? They just know that you are not really, experienced enough. So don't even use that trick. So make sure that you have if it's like Zoom meeting sort of, interview, make sure that you have your headset on. Even if you use hearing aid, please use hearing aid so that you do not keep asking them, what did you say? Come again, because that gets really annoying. It gets boring. They start losing interest in you. You don't want that, okay? So please make sure you listen very carefully to the interview questions. So the next one will be on time. I know that this is a bit cliche because you hear this a lot during any interview tip, whatever. They always say be on time, and that is because it's actually very crucial. It's very important that you're on time, because it shows how you are going to take that job. So you have to be on time, because that shows how you are going to be punctual or not punctual when you eventually get the job. You can't come into the interview late, because that's already like a red flag, okay? So don't do that. Make sure you are very early. Don't be too early, but just reasonably early, like 15 minutes before the time, 10 minutes before the time should be okay. So yeah, but make sure that you are on time. You don't want them to wait for you. You want to wait for them, okay? If it's like physical interview, make sure you factor in the time you're going to be driving there. Make sure you factor in traffic. Just make sure that you are early, okay? If it's like virtual interview or video call, Zoom meeting sort of interview, make sure that you gather all your gadgets. Make sure that you download the app, okay? Whatever app they are using, download it on time, sign in, log in, all of those things, because they actually take a lot of time sometimes. So make sure that you are set, everything is ready before the interview, and just give them like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or maybe 5 minutes, depending, because some Zoom meetings you cannot actually get in too early. But yeah, when you indicate like you are trying to get in, if they're already there, they will know that, oh, this person is already trying to come in. So yeah, it gives you extra mark. So the next one is dress appropriately. I know that this is also cliche, okay? Yeah, dress appropriately. Make sure you dress exactly how you would look on that job. I don't mean you going to wear suit. If you know that this job is something a bit casual, you don't need to wear suit. Just dress exactly how you would look when you are on that job. Dress exactly like that for the interview. If it has to do with banking or stuff, you already know you'll be on suit. But yeah, you have to actually dress properly, because trust me, people judge you by the way you look. No matter how you say don't judge people, don't do that. Yeah, at the end of the day, people still judge you by the way you look. If you look ratchet, if you look uncoordinated, they will always start judging you from there. So you want to make sure that you look presentable, you look clean. Okay, look clean, look appropriate, and also accordingly, or according to the job. So the next one will be ask questions after the interview. Okay, at the end of every or most interviews, they would say, do you have any questions for us? Don't be that girl, don't be that boy, don't be that person that would say, oh, I don't have any questions. Okay, you have to ask something. You've been on the hot seat for so long, so you have to put them on the hot seat just a little bit. Put them on the hot seat too. Yeah, what I like to ask is, what is one quality you are looking at for in someone who is going to fill up this position, or what is the quality that matters most to you? It's always a good question, guys. Always a good question. It throws them off balance a bit, which I love so much, because we've been on the hot seat. They've been asking you questions for 30 minutes, so it's now to put them on the hot seat. Okay, so it's always a good question, guys. Please make sure you ask this. Ask it in your next interview and come back and thank me later. You must not ask what I ask. You can, be creative, ask your own questions. If you have any genuine question, just ask it. But make sure you don't ask about too much about the money, the pay, the salary, because they will think that's all you're about. Okay. So yeah, just be constructive, be creative, and just be smart about it. So the last one, guys, the last but not the least, is to pray. Okay, pray about it. Pray before the interview, pray after the interview. I believe so much in grace. As a Christian, I believe so much in prayer, in grace. And yeah, if you believe in God or anything you believe in, make sure that you pray before the interview, because trust me, sometimes it's not just about how we perform. It's not all about our performance or our own ability. Grace goes a long way. Prayer does so many miracles, guys. So don't forget that. So if you believe in God, if you believe in prayer, please pray before the interview, and also pray after the interview. Commit everything into the hands of God, or whatever you believe in. And yeah, and I also want to use this opportunity to actually pray for someone. If you have any interview coming up, I pray that God's grace goes with you, that you land this job, and yeah, that you come back to testify. Okay, in Jesus' mighty name I pray, amen. And yeah, what a good way to end this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed watching. I hope you've learned something so far. If you did, don't forget to give me a massive thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, guys. Subscribe if you're new here. It will be a pleasure to have you join my channel, so please go ahead and subscribe if you're new. That's it for this video, guys. Don't forget that you're already qualified, and that's why they called you for the interview. Okay, bye.